You think you know what death looks like? Trust me, you don't have a clue. I'm an autopsy technician, and I've seen things that would make your darkest nightmares seem like kids' stuff. Imagine the worst smell you've ever encountered. Now multiply that by 1,000. That's what hits you when you open a body bag containing someone who's been decomposing for weeks. And the smell? It's just the beginning. I've cut open thousands of corpses, murders, suicides, accidents, you name it, and I've seen it. And let me tell you, each one leaves a mark on your soul. You want to know what real horror is? It's not what you see in the movies. It's standing over the body of a child, knowing their father put them on your table. It's finding maggots going in and out of what used to be a person. It's piecing together the last desperate moments of someone's life from the marks left on their corpse. This job isn't for the faint of heart, but if you think you can handle it, let me tell you about this one case. We get called to this cheap motel, middle of summer. You know, the kind of place where people basically go to disappear. The stench was so bad, people thought there was a burst sewer line. We walk into the room and there's this body, right? But it's not just laying there, it's literally melted into the carpet. It's been there for months in the heat. And then it moves. Not the guy, I mean, he's long dead. It's maggots. Thousands of them, squirming in and out, making new holes right in front of us. And not to mention, I'm literally the holes phobic, whatever it's called. The skin's rippling like water. We had to cut out part of the floor just to move him. Turned out to be an overdose. Just another junkie everyone forgot about. That's what we thought, but you know what really got me? As we were working with that body, I find this crumpled photo in what's left of his pocket. Him and this little girl, both smiling. This made me realize this wasn't just some junkie. This was someone's dad. Someone's son. A person before this room became his tomb. It's not all horror shows, though sometimes we do get to play hero. Had this case, young woman stabbed to death. I'm examining her body and I noticed something under her fingernails. Something really small, like tiny bit of skin. Fragment of nail. Wasn't hers. That little piece, it nailed her killer. DNA doesn't lie. Turns out it was her ex-boyfriend. Thought he'd got away clean. But his victim got the last laugh. As I'm watching the news about this conviction, I can't help but think that woman fought back in her last moments. She made sure he wouldn't get away with it. In a way, we helped her finish what she started. Let me tell you about another really scary case. We jokingly call it the living doll case. We got a call about a body in an old empty house. When we got there, something felt weird. The person was a young woman, maybe 20 years old. She was sitting in a chair in the middle of an empty room. But this wasn't just a normal dead body. She was dressed up like an old-fashioned doll. Fancy dress, perfect hair, lots of makeup. Her arms and legs were positioned strangely, like a big puppet. And the really creepy part? She'd been dead for weeks, but her body hadn't rotted so much. When we looked closer in our lab, things got even stranger. Most of her blood was replaced with chemicals that stopped rotting. Her insides had been taken out, cleaned, and put back very, very carefully. It was like someone turned her into a human doll. The worst part was how she died. We found stuff in her body that showed she was awake and alive, but couldn't move when this started happening to her. Can you imagine how scary that must have been? We found out later she wasn't the only one. There were other young women turned into, quote unquote, dolls like this. Some had been missing for years. This case showed me how twisted some people can be. It was so carefully done, like some horrible kind of art. It changed how I think about what humans are capable of. Now, whenever I see a dressed up doll in a store window, it still gives me creeps. In this job, you think you've seen everything, but then something like this happens and proves you wrong in the worst way. This job, it changes you. You see the worst of humanity up close, makes you realize there are some truly evil people out there. And they look just like everyone else, just like us. Once you see that, you can't unsee it. But someone's gonna do it, right? Someone's gonna, I guess, speak for the dead. And for better or worse, but that someone is me.